All right. Hello. Welcome back. And here we are, a long open session on Friday, July 31, 2026. And and let's see what we have for today's session. Clearly, we can see that we were moving higher since Asia, and Asia left these relatively lows in here that are incredibly obvious and clean, and already price made some measure of a high, relatively highs, pierced, made jagged, and then rejected that, and currently price went about 3/4 of this price swing here to get the relatively low sell side liquidity. uh, so yeah, do we need to get that? That's a good question. I would say it wouldn't be like too alien. It seems quite reasonable, but at the same time we made a measure of a low. Yesterday's London open session was basically the low of the day. And then price rallied very strongly for the remainder of the day. And technically we had almost like even larger range to the upside versus the range to the downside, which makes the trading today significantly more difficult, I feel like, especially for the long open session and the morning session, and maybe the PM session should be somewhat better suited for market engagement, I feel like. So yeah, generally the today's trading is in my mind, in a sense, whatever it shows, whatever it does in here that may look like it's probably not that. But yeah, taking also the fact that there is a lot of excitement since yesterday, because yeah, price moved so much higher, that might lead to some run on sell side liquidity, like these relatively lows potentially, right? The question is whether the setup would be actually suitable there. So yeah, we've taken old buy side liquidity pool, we've taken short term high, even made this little dodge in here, inefficiency basically overlapped. Exacting those lows is like a no-brainer in this situation, I feel like. But at the same time, we are so close to it that it's not that easy frame a very low risk idea, I feel like. Yes, MNQ similar made the low of the day in the long open session silver bullet yesterday. Fun fact, I was bullish there, but I got stopped out on some little shenanigans, and then eventually price rallied for over probably over 1k handles in total, which is quite insane, but yeah, it did it there. It traded to this hourly SEBI, but it still has those equal highs up there, which I think might be drawn the upside still. The question is whether we do anything with that, because it's Friday, because we had two very large ranges on Wednesday and Thursday, which in my mind makes the Friday's trading likely to be as a consolidation, a small range day, something like that. Something like that. So yeah, the fact where we are in terms of the range in here, have those equal highs, the CB from the high to low, we are clearly in a premium of that range, at a premium array, and we are just meandering inside of it. So it really bodes well for consolidation, I feel like. It really bodes well for consolidation. So this is the 1 hour CB graded here. And we can see how the lower octane was offering some discount sensitivity here. Then price went all the way up to the upper octane. It even went above it slightly, then lost the ground here. Aggressively sold off. Consecutive encroachment. This octane here. And it's consolidating. Alright, so technically this is where the sell side resides, in here. We have some relative equal highs. being formed. Right there. And let's see, let's watch, let's observe. At this moment, particularly out favor run towards those lows. And yeah, let's see if that will make any sense. But again, my anticipation for today's trading, and especially this session, but overall, I suspect a likely consolidation or consolidated type of price action to be present rather than any large expansions today. And I try to keep it with that expectation in mind, meaning that this is kind of like the range from the high, the low. This is the sell side liquidity where that's the extreme of the range inside of that CB, obviously, right? So the CB plays its role in here. So as long as we can stay inside of it, we might be banging between the low of the CB and the high of the CB back and forth. So yeah, it looks like we are stuck inside of a little consolidation here. My idea is to watch and see those equal highs potentially being taken out and offer, if they offer any bit of continuation towards these relative equal lows there. That's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. And we'll see. This little fair value gap in here could be a premium array to watch if we can break above that. But this is still just tape reading. I don't have a very strong convictions for today. So the bicentennial highs are being approached almost. Let's see if we can get that. And that might that might be interesting. Alright, so we got it there, and we have this little inefficiency here with a volume imbalance to the top. So let's annotate it like this. And that's the premium fair value gap that could or should potentially resist price and send us lower, and the idea would be to attack these short-term lows and be stretching towards these relative equal lows. But again, I'm tape reading this. I'm not looking to execute on this. I don't have much trust and or conviction behind what the price is actually doing. Trying to tape read and get a feel for it. All right, deeper run into that premium little fair value gap, and it has a CB above it, right above it, so that CB might be a factor. Hmm. Could extend this inefficiency here. CB, the higher one. So yeah, generally this run up in here is somewhat of a suspect rally for me. It trades into some premium arrays inside of this high to low. So it's kind of like an OTE where I would like to see it fade away and attack these relatively lows here as easy target and maybe draw down there into that lower relatively lows here, but not necessarily requiring those, but drawing to below the 248 low and basically relatively lows in here. That would be something that I would be interested in watching. All right, so it's now trading below those equal highs, and I like how it traded to the lower half of this CB and turn around, and now we are trading into this bit of a consolidation, which this might be a problematic for price to get through that, because it is basically a balanced price range here, up and down, up and down. But nonetheless, I would like to see it smash right on through it, right? Not offer too much discount sensitivity around it. But yeah, that's just theory, and now we watch how it actually delivers. Small little busy that could act as inversion for value gap. Dive straight into it right now. Yep, so right now it traded, it failed to close below those equal highs, and that's what I meant in saying that this might be a problem to get through this, because it's a balanced price range and it respected that balanced price range significantly. Only wick was permissed, but no bodies, and we make a higher high deeper into the CB. So let's see how far will it grind. There is only one more inefficiency that I would say it's significant for this. It's here. So if we lose this one, probably we are drawing up into the higher one up there. All right, so larger range rejection out of that upper half CB. So in my mind right now, because it made a higher high, that was like a stop hunt into that upper quadrant of that CB. This should be weakening. This should be getting some speed now to the downside. If it's actually gonna draw down there at all, right? But yep. So yeah, technically that was the last down close candle in here was the bullish order block that the bodies respected very well in here and send it all the way up into this CB, which is technically a premium CB inside this small little range. So what we do next is depending on what we do with this CB. So far we traded into it once, rejected, traded deeper, rejected, and back into it. But the rejections are rather shallow. They aren't very strong and aren't very pronounced, which in my mind favors a potential run into this higher inefficiency. This one. Also, price was trading lower here and formed a wick, which the consecutive encroachment, we couldn't even get close to it, which also kind of favors, well, not this one, favors the idea that this pink is more likely to trade to this higher CB instead. And that's what price delivers just now. It trades to the low of this higher CB. And that's, in my opinion, like the last line of defense before this ultimate old high being attacked. So now I'm watching how price does in terms of trading back into this CB that we closed above it. So it should act as a potential inversion for value gap. The fact that we traded into this higher fair value gap only with a smaller wick and the bodies were not even close to it is a little bit suspect and may indicate some weakness, but it's kind of too early to tell also at the time. So these down close candles here, I like this series there a little bit more because they have slightly lower close than this. This is kind of like the order block that I would not like to breach if it's continuously bullish. So it traded to the opening price of that here. The bodies are closer to the consecutive encroachment of this potential inversion for value gap, which technically meets the criterion to send it one more time into this CB here, and we would see what it does after that. All right, so I think it did enough job in here. It took even short-term swing low. This rejection should send us up into the CB again. And then regardless what we do around it, we could expect either it to fizzle out a little bit, or if it's gonna trade straight through that CB and close above it, then I would favor a run on the buy sell liquidity here as the result. So this is mean threshold of this last up candle. That's pretty large and significant. And so far we traded up into it perfectly, and the bodies are not necessarily closing above it. Even though wicks went above it, the bodies are not. So that's a little bit of a barrier that price needs to overcome on the upside on a closing basis, and so we can expect a continuation higher. So yeah, price managed to close above the mean threshold of that potential bearish order block. So this should have no issues whatsoever to trade up into this little fair value gap above it, and then we'll see what it does. Alright, touching the bearish fair value gap. Let's see if we can trade deeper into it now than just a touch. This like that, I'm not content with it. I would want to see a body late inside of it. All right, so there we go. We got the trade into that fair value gap, now more pronounced. And this is again a key moment, key area to see if we can close above it without any issues here, trade above it, then I would say it's likely to attack the buy side liquidity above the old high. Uh, and that's kind of what I would expect off of it. Then if it will not be able to get through this, then we could see probably a consolidation or a little bit of retracement, I think. But yeah, so far the first candle traded into the high of that fair value gap already, closed above the consecutive encroachment, didn't close outside of it yet, but it's quite strongly approaching this inefficiency, that's for sure. The next one open, traded to the low and already reacting off of the low and traded to the high. These little signatures in here make me think that it will give way, but let's see. Morning, Sonia. Yes, my plan is just to wait and watch because I don't have very high convictions for this session. I just don't know uh, with a great deal of certainty what it wants to do, where it wants to go. And after two very large range days, I just prefer to stay on sidelines unless it's incredibly obvious what it wants to do. Right now, it's not necessarily. All right, so the bodies respected the inefficiency overall, and we are moving away from it. And I feel like it's way too early to expect a outright reversal out of this. So it's more likely to offer a little bit of retracement and or a consolidation. That's what I'm expecting right now. A little bit of retracement and or consolidation. All right, nice little reaction in here off of the consecutive encroachment of that inversion for value gap here. Sends us straight away back into this fair value gap. So again, if this gives way and we start putting closes above it, then I'm expecting the old high to be approached. If we fail to take this inefficiency, then probably we are going to bang around a little bit. And that's kind of how it looks. Yep. So initially it does not break through that bearish fair value gap, which again that favors consolidation. But there is this busy at 352, and not gonna lie, I would like to see price tap into that busy as institutional order for entry drill and send it off of that potentially. But yeah, that's something what I would like to see, not necessarily something that will happen. All right, so we got the busy. Now let's see if it offers any reaction. All right, so watching the BISI closely, nice little respect initially, and if it's really good, it should be around the time to just, send it aggressively higher, especially taking into consideration the fact that we have those equal highs in here, and there is a bicycle above it, and being so close to the old high, that could go strong. Uh, but yeah, it would or should not breach the 50% of this busy at all in my mind. And yeah, that would be happening, or it would rather need to happen rather quickly. Will that be the case? I don't know. That's why I don't necessarily trade this, but that's kind of like the tape reading expectation that I was outlining the whole morning. I wasn't, I went into the session without the willingness to trade it, and I was trying to just tape read what it does and what it doesn't. And yeah, it delivered some levels that I liked, but the way it delivered was a rather high resistance in essence, and yeah, not that obvious in terms of like entering and holding for a larger price swing type of idea. And remember, even though initially I was expecting, I was willing to see a price take those equal highs buy side into a premium array to potentially send us lower towards those equal lows down there. Along the way, I realized or noticed that the price is not willing to do that, and that the order flow in here is still bullish, and it may want to trade into higher order premium arrays, which was this bearish fair value gap. We got it, and then I stated we are likely to consolidate in between the inversion fair value gap and this fair value gap here. So far we are getting that. We did pierced above it slightly on a closing basis, and we took those equal highs, and we reject that strongly right away. At this point I don't know what it wants to do. This rejection in here is kind of suspect. It can actually consolidate and or reverse even after taking the buy side here and strongly rejecting that level. But yeah, I guess whatever happens. It wasn't anything that I particularly wanted to engage with, and I guess that's fair enough for this one here. I kept it honest, and I was able to go through that session like that. Nonetheless, we'll see. We'll see if I can manage. I will be there for the morning session, and we'll see what we get there. Thanks for watching, and kudos to you guys. Bye.